we've got some fascinating material to get into.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was really struck by some of the stuff you sent over.
Oh, good.
It's like something we all experience every single day,
Mm.
multiple times a day,
Right.
but it's not something you necessarily think about, and it's this idea of wasting time.
Hmm.
But, and when I say that,
Yeah.
we're not talking about like, I should be working on this project and I'm watching cat videos instead.
Mm.
That's like a very deliberate choice.
Uh-huh. Yeah, procrastination, we're familiar with that.
Exactly. What we're really diving into today
Right.
is those like little pockets of time that exist between, you know, the things we do, the structured parts of our day.
Uh-huh.
Like, if you're on a commute, if you're waiting for a meeting to start, if you're, standing in line.
Standing in line at the grocery store. Yeah,
Exactly.
those little in-between moments.
Those are like historically,
Yeah.
I mean, even the phrase wasting time
Right.
implies like that's unproductive.
Just lost time. Yeah.
It's like dead air in the schedule of your day.
I like that dead air because it almost was. It was this time where you couldn't be productive in the way that we think of now.
Yeah.
Right?
Uh-huh.
So it's like, what was that like? And that's what's so interesting to me is, looking at the stuff you sent over, how that's changed so dramatically.
So maybe we should even, like, before we even get into, like, the mobile phone revolution.
Yeah, good idea.
Let's paint a picture.
Yeah.
For, like, people who weren't around then.
Yeah.
Or don't really remember.
Like, what did people do with that dead air time?
Yeah, like, imagine yourself, standing at a bus stop,
Mm-hmm.
and there's no phone in your pocket.
What do you do? You're just standing there.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there are, like, classic images, right?
Oh.
People with, like, a newspaper folded up.
You'd see that everywhere.
Or an actual book.
Oh, yeah, paperbacks. You see that in, like, old movies and stuff. People just reading.
And not even, like, necessarily reading. Sometimes just, like, holding it.
Just kind of, like a prop almost.
Yeah. Or just looking around.
That's a good one. People watching.
Yeah, people watching, or like...
Just taking in your surroundings.
What we might even call now, like, mindfulness.
Yeah, just being present.
Just being present.
It's just so rare now, right?
I know. It's such a...
I mean, that's what really struck me going through these sources is just like the stark contrast between then and now.
And like one of the sources even said, like, it wasn't even just that you were doing something different. It's like your attention wasn't constantly being pulled in different directions.
Yeah, it was like this singular focus, whatever it was, or even just like nothing, you know? You weren't being bombarded by notifications, messages, updates.
Right. It's like the default state was just quiet stillness.
Yeah.
Which is...
internal quiet.
Yeah. It's like now that's something we almost have to like consciously
Consciously work at, right?
Like a meditation practice almost.
Yeah, it's like we have
Not
to
gonna be back to that.
download an app to get back to
Exactly, yeah.
that like default state.
Which is wild, right?
Pretty wild.
To think about that.
Yeah. So then, okay.
Yeah.
So you have that, and obviously like mobile phones come along.
It's like enter stage left, the mobile phone.
Yeah. And I think it's important to like even remember those early phones.
Oh, yeah. The like brick phones.
Yeah.
The ones that could barely...
They weren't make a call.
Yeah, they weren't mini computers in your pocket.
No,
It's
a very single purpose.
Yeah, a tool to like
Communicate.
make calls.
Yeah.
And maybe a very, very like basic text.
If you were like really fancy, you could send a text.
Yeah.
But like no internet, no apps, nothing like that.
They weren't like filling the void of these in-between moments.
Not at all. They were just like for emergencies or, quick check-ins.
So when did things start to shift?
Well, I mean, it's kind of a gradual thing, right?
Yeah.
But I think the real turning point is when smartphones came on the scene.
Okay.
I mean, that's when everything changes. Because suddenly it's not just a phone.
Yeah.
It's like, one of the articles called it like a digital Swiss Army knife.
Oh, that's a good.
Right? It's like, it's a camera, it's a music player, it's a web browser, it's, all your communication is there. You can do all sorts of stuff with it.
And it's always there.
Always there.
Which is like, I think...
in your pocket.
The big change.
Yeah. Right. It's like an extension of ourselves almost, you know? It's like we're never without it.
And so now those moments that were once like this dead air, it's like...
now they're filled.
They're completely filled.
Yeah.
And so then that's where things get really interesting.
Right. Because, on the one hand, it's like amazing, right?
Right.
We can do so much with these devices. And, like you were saying, we can fill those moments with all sorts of stuff.
And you can be like productive.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Like, you're waiting for a doctor's appointment.
Yeah.
You can bang out some emails,
You can
catch up on some work.
Yeah, you can listen to like
You could be listening to this podcast,
exactly.
getting some information, learning something new.
Right. Or like you're bored waiting for, I don't know,
You're in line at the DMV.
you're in line at the DMV. You
Yeah.
can like, play a game.
Right. Endless entertainment at your fingertips.
Yeah. Watch videos, read articles, like
Right.
anything you want.
And stay connected,
Oh,
right?
Yeah, the connection piece.
That's huge. You can chat with friends, family.
Yeah, you're never really
You're never really alone.
alone, even if you're physically
Even if you're by yourself,
by yourself. Yeah.
which can be, comforting for some people.
Yeah. So there's like a lot of advantages.
Mhm.
But then this is like
The flip side,
the flip side.
which I think is what, some of the articles were really getting at,
Yeah.
is like, what have we lost
Yeah.
in this constant filling of time?
Yeah. Or
Yeah.
like, is it even a loss?
Right. Is it just different? Or is there something that we're like missing out on?
Yeah. Like I've definitely had this experience where like there's a pause in the conversation
Mm-hmm.
or like I just finish a task
Yeah.
and it's like
Uh,
my hand just reaches
Automatically. Yeah.
for the phone. Like I'm not even thinking about it.
It's like a reflex.
Yeah.
Right. And that's like, is that a problem? I think
Yeah.
that's the question we're trying to.
Yeah. And one of the articles actually like used the word stillness. And it's like, we've lost ability.
we're uncomfortable with stillness.
This ability to just like be
Yeah.
without doing.
Without input. Without, that external input.
And like a bunch of them talked about how like actually
Yeah.
boredom.
Boredom, which has such a negative connotation,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But like some of the research shows, boredom can actually be really good for us.
Yeah.
Like when we're bored, our minds wander, we make connections, we come up with creative ideas.
I can definitely relate to that. Like some of my best ideas,
Uh-huh.
I've been like doing something really mundane like dishes
Oh, yeah.
or like taking a shower.
Classic shower thoughts.
Yeah. And it's like my mind is free to just like,
Right, because it's not occupied.
yeah. And if I've been like scrolling,
You would have missed it.
I probably would have just missed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like we're trading off that potential
Yeah.
for constant stimulation.
And that's kind of the question for the listener.
That's the big question.
Yeah.
Like, is this constant screen time actually making us less creative, less able to just like observe the world around us?
Yeah. Are we missing?
Are we becoming desensitized?
Yeah. Like, are we missing things?
Yeah.
Because we're so focused on this little.
On this little screen.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, it's only going to get, I think, more intense with all this like new technology that's coming out.
What about AR, VR?
Yeah, like AR, VR. Like imagine.
I mean, imagine like you're waiting for the bus.
Yeah.
And instead of just scrolling through your phone,
Yeah.
you put on like AR glasses
Yeah.
and suddenly there's like digital art installations all around you.
Or like a game.
Yeah, like a game that's like
It-
overlaid on your actual surroundings.
Yeah, that's pretty wild.
That's pretty wild.
What about like VR?
Oh, VR. That's a whole other.
You're on the train, you pop on a headset,
Yeah.
and you're like suddenly on a beach in Bali.
I mean, the possibilities are endless, right?
It's kind of
It's
exciting, but it's also a little
a little scary.
right. Like, what does that do to our sense of like being present in the real world?
And that's kind of like the balance
That's the key, right?
that like keeps coming up in
Yeah.
these articles.
Like, how do we balance
Yeah.
all this amazing technology
Yeah.
with like our need to connect with the physical world?
And like not even just connect, but just like
Being it.
be in it.
Yeah.
So-
like practically speaking.
Practically. Like what can people do?
What can we do? I
Yeah.
mean, I'm thinking about my own
Yeah.
habits and like, okay, so one thing that came up a lot
Yeah.
was this idea of intentionality.
Oh, yeah, that's huge.
Right.
Being intentional with your phone use.
Yeah, instead of like just mindlessly
Yeah.
picking it up.
Scrolling. Yeah. Like
I'm like, okay, I'm going to pick up my phone because I want to check this email.
Yeah.
Or I'm going to read this article.
yeah,
or I'm going to,
respond to this text. Like
right, have a purpose.
have a purpose.
Instead of just like the default, like, oh, I'm bored, let me scroll.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, and the flip side of that,
The flip side.
which is, actually practicing stillness.
Right.
Like, can you just be without your phone? Like, can you just sit there and observe
Like almost
It's probably more a minute.
Like schedule it in.
Yeah, like, hey,
5 minutes of stillness.
I'm going to sit here and just like look out the window
Yeah.
and not touch my phone and see what happens.
Or
like,
if you're like walking somewhere, just like notice the buildings around you.
yeah, the trees, the people, like actually be present in your environment.
It's like it's almost.
That sounds so simple.
I know, it's so simple.
And it's so hard.
But it's like we've
unlearned it.
Unlearned it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of like it's not an either.
Right.
It's like
it's a both hand.
Yeah, both hand.
Yeah.
Like there's times
like sometimes you want to be productive, sometimes you want to connect with people, sometimes you want to just zone out and play a game, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But also like make sure you're giving yourself those moments of stillness and being present.
And like maybe even like scheduling them in.
Yeah.
That can be helpful. Like, okay.
Yeah, like a phone-free hour.
Yeah. Phone-free.
Or even just like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
You know, just to kind of reset. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think let's kind of wrap things up.
Yeah.
You know, we've really gone on this journey.
Yeah. A real deep dive.
A deep dive, exactly.
Into this concept of wasting time.
Yeah, which it's not even
wasting anymore, is it?
I know. It's like
filled time.
Yeah. And it's so
interesting how mobile phones have like completely reshaped that whole experience.
Yeah.
And, you know, we've talked about the good, the bad, the potential.
the future.
The future, yeah.
And it's like, as with all technology.
Right.
There's trade-offs.
There's trade-offs.
Yeah. And I think like the key is just to be
yeah.
aware
of those trade-offs.
Yeah. And like make conscious choices.
Yeah, make conscious choices.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we covered a lot.
We did.
Yeah.
Yeah. So to our listener, like,
yeah, what do you think?
How are you?
How are you using your wasting time?
Yeah.
Are you filling it all up? Are you giving yourself some space?
What are
the trade-offs you're making?
What are the trade-offs? And like, are you happy with those?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And until next time.
Until next time.
Keep diving deep.
Keep it deep.
All right, take care.